it's give me liberty. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Which immediately sets the tone, not just for the game, but for the franchise, for everything that's coming,
Right.
right? It could be give me freedom, give me the freedom of an open world,
Hmm.
right? But liberty implies that you are getting some extra freedom from the rules around you.
Sure. Welcome to the Grand Theft Auto Every Mission podcast, potentially GTA Every Mission. We're going to work out the nomenclature of it. My name is Henning Fogg. I am a writer. I am a Lyft driver. I am a Los Angeles resident. Most importantly, I am a gamer. I am a gamer in my late 30s, and I grew up with the Grand Theft Auto franchise. And it feels, I don't want to say under discussed in a broad cultural sense because you're not lacking for Twitch streams and YouTube videos, but I have not heard it really explored in the vein of something like The Sopranos or something like even, I don't know, the Great Gatsby. It is one of our great cultural offerings of the last 25 years. I think that what Rockstar has done with the Grand Theft Auto franchise is akin to Pixar. You know, it's a massive cultural undertaking and one that is worthy of discussion from every angle. This podcast is called Every Mission. We're going to be running down every mission in the Grand Theft Auto franchise, starting with Grand Theft Auto 3. We are skipping over GTA 1 and 2, which were released on PC. So we're starting with the PS2 era, the open world 3D era,
The
which
3D era.
3D era. All right.
No Chinatown Wars here, bro.
No Chinatown Wars. You were hearing the voice of my good friend Tim Goessling, my co-host on this podcast. Tim, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, it's your boy TPG. I would say I too am a lifelong gamer, full time dad, full time husband, and yeah, I started my. I have a rich history with GTA Henning, so it's great to be here with you, bro, to talk about this. And it started actually with GTA One, Grand Theft Auto One, and I was actually playing the PC version of this game, top down. If you ran over these, what I think were monks or runners,
Uh-huh.
you got a bonus, and that demo had a time limit on it. It's pretty sick.
All right. Like
And
old
then
Tony Hawk mechanics, like a 2 minute time limit.
yeah, and I also have played all of GTA 4. I have played all of GTA 5. I have played multiple hours of GTA Online, going all the way up to the Doomsday Heist.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, I've never played GTA 4 to completion, so I'm happy to be here to talk to you um,
Well, I think you,
about
right.
about these.
GTA 3, you have never played to
GTA 3.
completion.
I've never
Right.
played GTA 3, never played Vice City, never played San Andreas.
Tim and I are the same age, which is to say, 39 years old, rapidly approaching our 40s. So we were both 15 when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out in the fall of 2001, which was supposed to be released before September 11th. That happened, and then this was released after that. But, you know, we're a freshman in high school. This rated M game comes out where you can pick up the services of a prostitute, a sex worker. You can then kill them, run them over, take your money back. This was an exciting new mechanic for sheltered suburban youth, which both Tim and I were. But I am very interested in the fact that you had no prior experience with this game. This is totally new to you.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into the first mission of the game.
All
All
right,
right.
let's get into the title of the
I'm dialed
podcast.
on this because
Okay.
the first mission of the game, what's it called?
First mission of the game is called Give Me Liberty. But I think it's important to note that there is the quickest of cutscenes before we even get to the ostensible first mission, Give Me Liberty. You are robbing a bank. You are betrayed
Well,
by.
but even before you get into that, you have a very jazzy intro,
Yes,
which
absolutely.
feels very out of place in today's modern gaming landscape. You get a nice little jazzy intro, very relaxed, with full credits for the team,
Hmm.
which is impressive.
Sure, very cinematic. I think that, you know, this, it's hard to say whether this was the very first open world game, but it certainly sort of exploded that concept. And I think that equally, it gave gamers a cinematic experience that maybe they weren't getting in a Mario game, a Zelda game. That's certainly what I was playing at the time when this game came out. So for me, this just exploded, my sense of what was even possible. And in those opening credits, it's like, oh, shit, I've never heard something like this before. And like you said, it sets you up for, I think, a very different gaming experience, certainly than what we had been used to at the time.
Yeah, so you get these nice, cool jazz credits. I appreciate it. It really gives you a sense of authorship right out of the gate, which I
Hmm.
appreciate. That's also think something I think is very important to understand with GTA, with the Hauser brothers. I feel like as we go, we could talk a little bit more about them. But these are two brothers who made this game. It's actually a BBC movie starring the one Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe, that you could watch about the creation of this game. But we get a quick intro, probably the fastest pieces of exposition I've received in a lot of media.
Uh-huh.
So we get a failed bank robbery with a betrayal
Right.
by what looks like
Presume
a
love interest, Catalina.
Catalina. Yep, first time we see her, she shoots our man, who's I understand
Unnamed
unnamed
protagonist.
unnamed protagonist. Although sometimes people will call him Claude in time. I
Right.
understand.
That winds up retconned several years later in GTA San Andreas, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Okay, cool. So our unnamed protagonist gets shot but not killed, and then we get some quick classic news exposition style, and we have a sequence.
From the Liberty Tree, the most read newspaper in Liberty City.
Yep, and then we're on the bridge,
Hmm.
and the
I,
bridge gets blown up.
yeah, you are riding in a prison convoy. You see flashes of yourself, through the window of this armored car. You are being chased by some sort of unmarked van. Clearly, they have ill intentions. A bomb is launched from the back of the van. Meanwhile, some armed gunmen tackle policemen, and they get their guy out. There is a lot of effort being thrown into just getting their one guy out. I think it's maybe the Colombian cartel.
Something
That's what
like
I'm led
that.
to
Yeah.
believe. And this bomb winds up absolutely ripping the shit out of this bridge. It seemed like a relatively tiny bomb, but maybe that's just a limitation of like 2001 era graphics. But I think it's kind of interesting. It's elegant the way that you immediately understand almost implicitly, like you're cut off from this other part of the city, and it's hard for me sometimes, I'm revisiting this game. I, played this as a 15-year-old. I definitely replayed it when this definitive edition that we are playing. So there right now, to the best of my knowledge, is no way to play the original version of this game that came out in 2001. So Tim and I are playing the definitive edition that was released to some controversy in the fall of 2000,
Has
fall of
since been
2021.
updated. Has
Has
since
since been
been up.
updated several times, and on this latest playthrough, it does play smoother. The graphics don't seem as Gumby like insane, but in any case, um, yeah, you're just kind of thrown right into it, and it's kind of wild to me how much muscle memory is involved in this. Like both you and I, Tim, I would consider myself uh, I would consider myself a fairly advanced gamer. Is that how you would categorize yourself?
I'm a normcore gamer, bro. You're
What
not
does
gonna
that
catch.
mean? What does normcore mean?
You're not gonna catch me out here playing any Souls likes. I didn't
Okay.
even know that you could counter in PlayStation God of War. Like that's not for me. I was searching for a cover shooter, cover button when the combat kicked off in this game. We'll get there down the line.
Uh-huh.
But if we go back to this mission, right? I want to talk about a couple things here, which is innate to this podcast. The first is it's not just a normal car; it's a Hummer, right? It's a big classic 2001 Hummer, and I don't know if you have any prior Hummer
Wait,
experience.
what is the Hummer? You are like that's not the car that you get into. That is the
No,
Colombian cartel
that's
car.
the Colombian cartel car,
Right.
and I think that sets the tone here. In
Okay.
that a Hummer is a very in
Iconic
your
American car.
iconic American car, right? I think it's made
Actually,
by
I think it's a German car, but it has a certain iconography in American culture.
yeah, but I think it was acquired by an American brand.
Okay.
And so right away you get this Hummer and you're like, all right, this is how it's going down. You have these vaguely cartel looking dudes with M16s. I
Right.
thought they were gonna shoot the cops, you know what I mean?
They actually, it's all very PG. No one actually dies in the prisoner breakout.
Yes, exactly. So no one dies in the prisoner breakout, which is a surprise to me. I thought the blood would be flying out of the gate.
Hmm.
And you then encounter your first character that talks, right?
Right. Eight
That
ball.
eight ball. Um, Eight Ball is the first person you meet in all of GTA.
Yes.
Your first buddy, your first
Yep.
homie. Um, right out of the gate, this was exciting for me because I have a rich history with parts of the franchise, but with the first character being Eight Ball, I was like, okay, here we go, off to the races. And
Uh-huh.
the very first thing that jumped out to me, because you get in his car, right, or you drive his car.
Well, he can't drive because his hands are all messed up and you need to drive.
Okay,
They don't explain what sort of injury he's got, but famously he says, I've got a place on the edge of the red light district. I'd love to drive there, but my hands are all messed up, so you better take the wheel.
all right, and then we get the name of the mission.
Yeah, I believe the name of the mission is superimposed, and you are there on the bridge. The only indicator that you have is a little instruction box that says press triangle to enter a car. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think that triangle button to me is like the most kind of iconic symbol of the entire Grand Theft Auto franchise. I mean, that is the title. You press triangle to commit Grand Theft Auto. And it's so simple. It's like it takes me back. And obviously that's, just one sort of button, but you get behind the wheel of this car, a Kuruma, I believe. Head radio comes on. You've got no shortage of radio tracks, which we will get into over the course of this podcast. But like I it was instantly transported to like my parents' attic. I'm 15 years old. I am behind the wheel of this digital car. I don't have a driver's license at this point, but somehow this all just makes sense to me. And I feel like I'm doing something transgressive. I feel like I don't know, like I've got freedoms the likes of which I don't actually have as a 15-year-old. But back to the game itself. You are driving. All that you have to do is get to Eight Ball's hideout, right?
So I want to spend some time here, dude. Believe me, I have my own nostalgic tales of GTA 3. I played this game for the first time. My friend, his name was Lotfi. He's actually now a very acclaimed artistic indie filmmaker.
Cool.
But he brought the game over to my house. We played it. My parents were upstairs. We were in the basement firing it up. And so the nostalgia element is definitely there. But what I'm interested, dude, in the real meat here in the pod, dude, is
Hmm.
the story. Oftentimes when people talk about GTA, they're talking about free roam chaos, just
Sure.
letting the game do whatever you will. But I think for us, it's interesting to talk about the missions, right? The way that the people who made this game want you to experience their story, the story
Totally.
that they're trying to tell, right?
Right.
And the first thing that jumped out to me to this mission, which I find to be honestly deeply poignant. I didn't cry over this, but I definitely had a little bit of a wow, here we go moment. Is the title of this mission, dude?
Give me
It's
liberty.
it's not drive the car, it's not drive eight ball, it's give me liberty. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
Which immediately sets the tone, not just for the game, but for the franchise, for everything that's coming,
Right.
right? It could be give me freedom, give me the freedom of an open world, right?
Hmm.
But liberty implies that you are getting some extra freedom from the rules around you,
Sure.
right? And
Sure.
I find that to be very powerful because it's like you're playing this game for the first time. You know what you're getting because you've heard of the 2D ones, but here you're now
Right.
in a world of it literally says as a statement, you wanna steal cars by pushing triangle, you want to kill people, you want to beat
Hmm.
people with bats, you want to
Right.
bang hookers,
It's
you want
all
you
available to you.
it's all available to you. And
Hmm.
people might think that's bad. People might say that's bad, but fuck them. Like this is it for you. And this is also it for us. And this is it for gaming. Like,
Right.
here it is, baby. Give me liberty. And then, of course, at the time in this game, do you know what Liberty City is? Has that been established? It sounds like it is because the newspaper.
What do you mean? Do you know what Liberty
Like as
City
as
is?
as the protagonist, as a player, do you know that the game is set in Liberty City?
I mean, only in so much as you've read like the back of the box. But, I think that you are aware as a player that this is some sort of refashioned New York. It feels that way, certainly. And so like this first area that you're starting off in, this first subdivision of Liberty City, maybe even like a borough of Liberty City in New York terms, it's called Portland. It is sort of Bronxy, sort of Queensy. Um, back to what you're saying though. I'm in total agreement. I think that there is a sort of brilliance to how like I don't know, that encapsulates the entire series. The entire series is about liberty, is about freedom, is about the ability to do anything. Sometimes I do think that that is at odds with the story, and there are instances where it's not as though like you're leading one life in the story and, doing completely different shit in the open world. That's more of like a Red Dead Redemption conversation. But for the purposes of this, yes, like I don't think there's any underselling just how seismic a shift this game represented
Yeah,
in
and
2001. Of
they knew that when
course
they
they
were
did.
making this, dude. Of
Right.
course they did. Right. So I found that, give me liberty or give me death, give me dope radio stations or give me nothing at all. And I find a really, really poignant opening, just opening level. It's like
Right.
it's basically saying
You're not
it's
really
a
told what to do. I mean, you are given access to this car and you have a map and that's it.
yeah, and it's like it's implied that it's all there for you.
Right.
All the
This is your
things that you
playground.
this is your playground, right? And you're there with 8 Ball. He talks to you a little bit, but not that much. And I find it fascinating. When I'm playing these games, I know the language of these games, how they
Sure.
work. So it was
You're
instinctual
I
to me to follow the mini map and go, and it gives you
right.
these instructions. Uh,
You are
but
you are maybe not an advanced gamer by your own definition, but I think you are a dyed-in-the-wool rock star head. You know the mechanics of these games inside and out, especially starting with Grand Theft Auto 4.
yeah, of course. So I found this first mission to be like weirdly meditative. I also find as playing it for the first time, when I say meditative, I mean I was taking in all these things that I didn't necessarily take in the first time. The art
Yeah.
design of the game, the way the
Hmm.
car feels when I'm driving it. I should note I was playing this game on a PS5. Graphics look sick,
Hmm.
smooth frame rate. But for the first time ever in a GTA game, I kind of took my time just driving a little bit. I was keenly aware that I didn't have any weapons, so it's not like I could shoot out of the car or
Right.
toss
Yeah.
C4
You
or
don't
do
have
it.
full liberty to kill just yet. Actually, you do.
Exactly.
You could punch people if you wanted to, but that's maybe not the first thing on your mind.
Yeah, so I found this mission was a way that I could take in the city around me.
Right.
I wish I got to spend a little more time talking with 8 Ball, but our boy, the unnamed hero, is pretty not that chatty, I would say.
No, I mean, I also think it's worth acknowledging like that to call this a mission is a pretty loose interpretation of the word mission. It is literally just driving from point A to point B. And not that that is like uncommon to most Grand Theft Auto missions, which either involve driving or shooting. But there's not much involved here. You are just getting to this hideout, and 8 Ball isn't talking. That feels like a feature of future Rockstar games, which to me becomes synonymous with like solving the potential boredom problem of transportation by filling that in with lots of storytelling, right?
He doesn't
And
talk at
lots of
all.
conversation. I don't think he talks at all. I think you're pretty much like in a silent conversation, which is to say no conversation once you get behind the wheel of the car. But you certainly feel that presence. Do you feel like you drove safely to the hideout?
I feel like I drove safely, as safe as I could. I also wanted to get this thing going, so I
Okay.
definitely jumped some red lights, but
uh,
probably the safest I've ever driven.
in
And
a Grand Theft Auto game.
yes, for sure. And where do you go? You go to
You go to the edge of the red light district where 8 Ball has his little hideout waiting for you. And like obviously you are meant to infer that this is about as bottom of the barrel as it gets, right? You're starting from the bottom, some shithole apartment. But,
and you
if we're
get
look
new outfits, right?
no new outfits. You show up, you are told that this is where you can save your game. You can save a car here if you want. They don't mention it, but there is a baseball bat there waiting for you to take it and, beat someone to
Right
death
out of the
with
game, right out of the gate. I
right out of
think
the
you
gate.
get out of your prison jumpsuit though, right?
Yeah, that's true. Oh, so you get out of your prison jumpsuit when you enter the safe house, and then the unnamed protagonist, you are given a nice leather jacket and what look like a pair of green cargo pants, very 2001 style. Uh, I don't know. He's an everyman. It's like it's immaterial, sort of what this guy is. There's really aside from that opening cutscene, little to no story about this person.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's the end
and
of the mission,
and that's
right?
the mission. Then you're done. That is it. Although you jump almost immediately into the next one. Eight Ball says that he's got a buddy by the name of Luigi who runs a local business, and as you drive toward that business, it becomes very apparent that that business is a strip club by the name of Sex Club 7, which kind of stood out to me to start. I was like, where, like, why does that sound familiar? And I realized 100% it is a joke about a popular British band at the time, like a pop band called S Club 7. So this is that classic rock star humor where it's like it's cheeky, it's kind of taking the piss out of something, but that was I don't know, that was an interesting kind of introduction to the larger sort of sense of humor of this game. These are very funny games. These have a sort of like irreverent, I don't know, Eminem kind of quality to them. Is that how you experienced it, Tim?
Yes, I did. Um, so yeah, so that's the first mission,
That's it.
and
Yeah.
the next mission, as you said, Luigi's Girls. You basically just drive him to this club. I was struck by a sense of place
Okay.
playing this. Like it's just funny because in later series of that Rockstar will make, there's like way more graphics, way more details, all this
Sure.
stuff. But I still was able to get a sense of the grime and also still kind of the shock factor that you're just like dropping this dude off at a sex club, at a strip club.
Uh,
You know, I was like, oh damn, okay, right out of the gate.
yeah.
And some of this I think is a little bit of showing, not telling.
Okay.
You know, and
Yep.
I found that to be
A classic writing axiom.
yeah, because there's like a version of this, you know, where there's strippers all over the streets and it's
Sure.
like some crazy entrance, and but this was like it's just another day in the life of eight ball, you know
Right.
what I mean?
But I also think, I mean, some of what you're saying is reflected in the fact that, like, all right, this game came out 25 years ago on like very different hardware that could not support the
Yeah,
kind of
I mean, I
graphical
don't want to give it.
intensity. No,
It's
but
funny,
what?
I'm like looking at the limitations of the time as if it's some like artistic masterpiece, you know what I mean? But
Right. No, but I mean, I every game, every story, has to contend with what is available to them at the time. And I think that, for the purposes of like 2001 era PlayStation, PlayStation 2, I'm sure that it was frustrating to Rockstar to not be able to populate the game in exactly the way that you're describing, but they make up for it with just like a richness of place in terms of the signage, in terms of, the
yeah,
music kind of getting to
there's
you.
like ads for
It
like
all
bad
adds up.
fellas and
Yeah.
movies, you know. And one thing I also want to say is, do you get paid? Do you get your mission completion bonus after the first mission? Give me
No.
Liberty. Do you get
No,
$1,000? When
no.
do you start getting
There
those?
is you. Well, you make your first money after you complete Luigi's Girls. So, all right. So the mission Luigi's Girls starts when you drop eight ball off at Luigi's Club. You are then introduced to a presumably mobbed up dude who, to my mind, had a very familiar sounding voice. A character actor by the name of Joey Pantoliano.
What's that guy's name?
Joey Pantoliano. Joey Pants.
No, no,
Uh,
no. I know Joey Pants. What's the character's name?
Character's name's Luigi. The mission.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
So
That's the guy. Sorry.
That's Luigi, and we're gonna go get his girls. But it's like whether I knew in 2001 who Joey Pants was. I mean, I guess The Matrix had come out 2 years ago, right? So like he's if not a household name, then you reckon he's got a distinctive New York voice. And I think even without knowing who he is, it lends this game, talk about lending the game a sense of place. Like voice acting that wasn't exclusively new, but the way that it's utilized here, there's no denying the sort of like cinematic power of that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I recognize his voice right away.
Yeah,
Shout out to I think he's Cypher in the Matrix.
right. And he's also one
Um,
of your favorite franchises, Bad Boys.
yes, of course. Yeah, I so he's kind of like the first dude that you meet in the game that talks to you, who's not eight ball.
Right.
I assume right out of the gate that eight ball is going to be my ride or die buddy
Uh-huh.
forever. You know, I don't know. When
Right.
we're recording this podcast, so I have no idea. But I'm just like eight ball is the dude that takes you with him. You know what I mean? He's the
Right.
guy that
He shepherds you into this
knocks
new
over the
world.
guard, and he's the dude that's looking out for you.
No, listen,
You know what
for
I
all
mean?
intents and purposes right now, 8 Ball is your Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Exactly. So when you meet when you meet Luigi, like, okay, I'm now meeting my first like higher tier criminal.
Sure.
This dude works at a strip club, and he's got a mission for me.
Yeah. Well, he shows up on your map as an L, you know, and I think that that is such an iconic part of the Rockstar formula is these people, you know, inhabiting a map who you can return to. You don't necessarily know that yet. You know, it's like you almost have to take out of your brain everything that you know about the way these games are configured and, you know, remember like, all right, you are given such bare bones information. Drive me here. And the mission itself is practically the same as your first mission in that you are just tasked with picking someone up and taking them back to Sex Club 7. In this case, one of Luigi's girls, the titular girls, her name is Misty, and you got to pick her up at the clinic. So, you know, no shortage of like uh, not double entendres there, but you know, there lots of implications in these games. You go to pick her up. You will learn later that the location you pick her up at, that's the hospital. That's where you will respawn every time you die. You take her back, and then Tim, that's when you get your first dollar fee
uh,
in this game. You are given $1,500, which I plugged into an inflation calculator earlier, and by 2025 standards, $1,500 is $2,731.52. So not bad for just a pickup mission.
yeah, that's not bad at all. Also, this leveled name, Luigi's girls. You know, we touched on that one, but Misty is also in the next mission, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
The only thing that really jumped out to me with this mission, since we're cooking to these early ones, is like I was like, is this like an abortion clinic? I was like, damn, they're like really getting into the
I mean,
darkness.
I think that's implied for sure.
Yeah, for
I do think
sure.
it's very progressive of Liberty City that, you know, a potential women's health center is also located in the main hospital. That's like a good message.
Good for them. All right, let's get to
Yeah.
the next. Let's get to the next mission, dude. There's
Okay.
not too much to dig into here. What comes next?
Don't smack my bitch up. Don't spank my bitch up, excuse me.
This has
And
to be a reference to Prodigy, right?
yeah, 100% it's a reference to the Prodigy song that they definitely couldn't get the licensing rights for. Even though they've got some like brilliant music in this game, I feel like that's a track that they 100% wanted to incorporate but couldn't. And so yeah, the game world has kind of opened up a little bit. I do think it's worth rewinding a tiny bit. So like once Luigi's Girls ends, you know, again, a super quick mission. If you are playing it even at the slowest level, it probably takes no more than like 2 minutes. The game is effectively opened up, and you are told Liberty City is yours to explore, and you are encouraged to go like steal a cab if you want to.
Oh
Did
yeah.
did you do anything of your own accord after that, or did you just dive right into the next mission?
I mean, this is a podcast about GTA missions, bro.
Uh-huh.
So like, I'm pretty. I did do a couple cab missions. Thought they
Uh-huh.
were boring. Um, so I just went right back to the mainline missions.
Right.
You understand though, it's hard to look back at this and not put a whole other lens on it when you've played, I don't know, 100 hours of GTA Online. You
Yeah.
know, once you got the taste of the flying cars and the rockets and the Batmobiles and shit,
Totally.
it's hard to just be here and be like, I'm not
To
gonna
go.
put it in. I'm not gonna put any cheat codes. I'm an adult. You know
No.
what I mean? I'm not gonna spawn a tank.
Right.
Um, so I was
I don't
focused
think
on
those old
this.
cheat codes work anymore anyway. I think those are exclusive to the PS2 era.
Yeah, I was focused on the mission because
Right.
honestly, like it's good to talk about this. I'm expecting, even though this is GTA 3,
Uh-huh.
I'm expecting a pretty solid story here, like rich with betrayals and stuff like that. Like I have fond memories of the GTA 4 story.
Yep.
I'm excited to get to that one on GTA 5, obviously. So I'm expecting there to be a whole tapestry of characters here. So with these early
I
missions,
think
I'm going in with like, all right, who's this dude?
Right.
What's this person's motivation and this type of stuff, you know? So I was really cranking through these first couple
I
missions.
do need to remember that this is a totally or relatively new experience for you compared to me. I feel like my sense memory of it is maybe
Yeah, I mean, you
a
can
little
remember like stuff like
richer.
this, the cereal you were eating when you were playing this game in middle school, I
Oh
should say,
yeah.
or the
No,
Totino's
it's like
pizza
the
rolls or
it's like
whatever.
the it was definitely Totino's pizza rolls. It was like that scene in Ratatouille, where the critic is immediately transported back to his childhood. That's me playing this game. I guess I think it's worth bringing up sort of like play style, just because I don't know. I think that's an interesting component of the concept of liberty, right? It's like, yes, we are talking about the missions. That is the framework. The missions at this point, quite honestly, like aren't that narratively compelling. And so I think that Liberty City itself is the main character in this
Yeah, bro,
game.
but I kept going into ammunition to get
Right.
some
Well,
guns and I
but
couldn't
you
get
can't,
guns.
right. You
Yeah.
are denied everything that you want to do. It is interesting because, all right, you've got 20 years of open world gaming experience, GTA specific Rockstar gaming experience after this. You are, by your own admission, used to the rocket powered cars that can blow up half of San Andreas. You are ground level right now. It's frustrating. You're going back to like a bare bones playstyle. The controls are pretty janky. You
I mean,
don't
here I am thinking it's like some artistic choice, you know. It's really just like the fucking
No, I
rough and
mean,
tumble game
they're kind of
design.
figuring it out as they go along. I mean, I don't want to go
It
so.
made me upset that I couldn't get guns and ammunition. Like I
Uh,
went in there multiple times,
you thought that
and
maybe just asking hard enough they would sell you the guns?
well, this is America, dude.
It is
I
America.
got my gun, I got my money, and then
Uh-huh.
I couldn't get my guns.
Right. You get the money, you get the guns, you get the women, and the fact that you couldn't get those latter two was deeply disappointing to you.
Yeah, like it was mostly disappointing that I couldn't get the guns, you
All
know,
right.
because I went
Okay.
into ammunition a bunch of times.
Meanwhile, I'm picking up a taxi cab and doing like 30 missions in a row, thinking that it's going to unlock something for me. I should say, I do not have children. Tim is a father of three. Tim is also gainfully employed. I'm sort of sporadically employed. So we're coming at this from very different time constraint levels. But I don't know. It was interesting to me that like left to my own devices, I wound up just ferrying people around the city. Like that was just instinctual to me.
Yeah, but when you love driving,
I do, to the
I mean,
point that I was a Lyft driver.
the other thing, I mean, I was excited to notice the like jumps that were built into the map,
Uh-huh.
and I was particular about what kind of cars I was stealing in
Okay. All
my lighthearted mischief
right. So you
with
you
no
did
guns.
you did do some non you did do some extracurricular activity that was not strictly mission oriented.
Barely,
Okay. Do you remember the name?
barely.
Do you remember the cars that you stole? What caught your eye in Liberty City?
Well, I'm not stealing any jank like station wagons and things like that. I was strictly going for four-door sedans. It's not like you're looking
Absolutely.
at the cream of the crop, like fast sports cars there.
No, you got some
Um,
Mafia Sentinels that look pretty tasty, but all right, I'm derailing you. You want to talk about Mission 3. So why don't you lead us into that?
you meet Mickey Hamfist. This is another type dude at the club, right?
Uh-huh.
And he says that someone's car has been stolen and that he wants you to go get it. And before you get it, you gotta get it resprayed. So
Right.
this was pretty exciting. He gave me a warning that there was like other criminal forces out there.
Uh-huh.
This is the first time in the game that you are aware of like obviously you know about the Colombians, but
Sure. I think
that
it's
there
also
are
pretty obvious that like you are working for the mafia at this point. Like
yeah.
these are the most stereotypical Italian Americans imaginable.
Yeah, of course. And that stays true to, you know, classic American narratives, New York City, you know,
Right.
wise guys. Uh
Bad
they
fellas.
yeah, bad fellas, dude. So one thing I liked about this mission is that right when you get there, there's a baseball bat
Yes.
available to you.
Right.
Um,
Practically begging you to pick it up and use it.
Now let's talk about this. Okay, talk about missions.
Hmm.
There's a game that I think that I spent a lot of time with around the same time that you were spending time with this game, and that was a game called Half Life, which has
Okay. Yeah, I am I
I,
am out. I've never played Half-Life.
another iconic weapon in that game is the crowbar. That is the first weapon that you get in the game, and you could use it to break crates and do lots of stuff. But this isn't a Half Life pod. But I do find it interesting that the first weapon in this game. It could be a knife, it could be a gun, but
Hmm.
no. All American slugger.
Yep.
Louisville Slugger, dude.
Uh-huh.
And we should monitor this as we go through these missions. Like, what other like key pieces of American economy?
Americana.
Yeah, Americana exactly are
Hmm.
appearing in these games. We've already got this super deliberate title of the first mission, "Give Me
Right.
Liberty." We're in the great American city of New York, and now
Hmm.
the first thing that you do your real true criminal act with is, of course, a baseball bat, dude.
Sure.
It's not. It's not a knife. It's not anything like that.
No, this is
It's a
very
baseball bat.
intentional.
Yeah, very intentional, right?
Now you have the option. You don't have to murder this guy.
Yeah,
You
you
could
don't.
just take his car. In theory, you can just grab the car and go. What did you do?
Oh, I mean, this is GTA, so I got in a fist fight with him, tested out the targeting. Then I
Uh-huh.
got the bat out, and then when
Uh-huh.
he was lying on the ground, I smashed him a bunch of times to check
Yep.
the blood physics. And I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, like, so I think that it's worth noting canonically, this is the first killing of the GTA 3 universe. I mean, it's optional to an extent, but I mean, this is it. This is like no going
Yeah, but
back.
this
Not
is this is avoidable though. To your point.
Yeah. And it's not as though the game makes any sort of like moment of it. You don't feel any sort of way about it. As the unnamed protagonist, this doesn't move you one way or another.
Yeah, there's no sense of like the price of your soul after you do this. You know what I
Right. The
mean?
21 grams of it.
Yeah. But like you get this car. One thing I thought was interesting about getting this car, this is like the first time where you are driving someone else's vehicle, which
Right.
is like a classic GTA mission type, which is like it's funny. I thought that I would get in trouble if the car got scuffed up,
Hmm.
if I banged it in a bunch of shit. But that type of mechanic didn't seem to exist at this
No.
point. You know
Well, I
what I
mean,
mean?
also the mission ends with you going to the pay and spray, right? You were introduced to pay and spray for the first time, which of course is an iconic element of the Grand Theft Auto universe. Eventually becomes something, a little more grounded as you get to like GTA 5, but you are immediately off the radar of the cops. You have a new color for your car. You don't get a choice in it, but that removes all of the scuffs and dings that you would presumably
Yeah.
acquire running over half of Liberty City.
Pay and spray is something that I played these games before I had a car. I have played these games before. I say this as if I'm a criminal in real life. Before I had any knowledge of how criminality
Smooth
works,
criminal.
I thought that shit was real, like instant in real
Yeah,
life.
because it's a perfect idea and it should exist.
So yeah, first time at the pay and spray, and I
Hmm.
thought, wow, what a moment, dude. I'm getting a little bit deeper into the criminality world, and pretty solid. Smashed a guy with a baseball bat, but I still feel like I'm just getting the appetizers of the real sauce here.
Oh yeah, no, we've barely scratched the surface. It's like these three missions collectively probably take no more than 5.5 minutes to get through, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There,
Um,
there's not a ton on there's not a ton of meat on the story bone right now. You are mostly just soaking in atmosphere. And I do think that like the atmosphere is potent. Part of it again is the nostalgia factor, but I have to believe that even if you were playing this for the first time, minus the kind of frustrations with old school control systems, and what is clearly just a fresh coat of paint on an old graphic system, like the city does feel alive to me as much as it can. It's the NPCs are not as robust maybe as they would become later on, but like they have painted a vibrant enough city, and that's the killer hook of this game.
100%. And like it leads you to the next level, the next mission, excuse me,
Right.
which is what's it called? Drive Misty for me,
Do
which
you want to
seems
keep
to
going?
be.
You want to talk four missions or
I want to talk four missions. And the reason I want to talk four missions is because it feels like after this mission,
uh-huh.
then you start getting more letters on the map.
You do. All right. So we have gotten the car resprayed. We've killed, maybe we haven't killed. You go back to Luigi. He's got another mission, which is all very contained in the title, Drive Misty for Me. Not that this is even a reference worth making, but Drive Misty for Me was a Clint Eastwood movie, 1973 Clint Eastwood movie starring Jessica Walter from Arrested Development, Lucille Bluth, where she played like a crazed fan who was in
It
love.
wasn't Drive, it was Play Misty
The
for Me, though,
movie was
right?
Play Misty for Me, so this is riffing on Drive Misty for Me is riffing on Play Misty for Me,
Kind of
but
crazy that the first Clint Eastwood reference in this game is to,
one of his more obscure films.
yeah, I think he did direct that movie, though.
But I think it's also another the reason I bring it up, I think it's telling about the game's sort of sense of humor. And like there are so many references. You brought up Bad Fellas, it's like a lot of the licensed music in the game. My favorite radio station is called Flashback 96.5 and it has songs from Scarface. And so it's like these games and the Housers wear their influences totally on their sleeves. So I don't know. I think that's just a fun thing to kind of take note of. We had the Prodigy song in the last one. Um,
yeah, the level with Misty is like kind of interesting because you get introduced to a new character and kind of your first female character.
uh-huh.
I have no idea if she'll feature later in the story. What
Well,
have
we
you
already
met
we
her
already
before?
met Misty. We picked her up from the
Does she
clinic.
talk?
She does talk a little bit. She's got a bit of a New York accent.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, this mission, nothing happens. You basically just take her to point A to point B, and I was like,
Uh,
okay, I'll get paid to do this,
right.
but that's
Well,
basically it,
well,
dude.
all right. Let's fulfill the promise of the podcast. What is the mission? We are taking her from point A to point B, but we are picking her up from her apartment, right? Which is in the same general area as Sex Club 7 and our hideout and the paint spray. And we're taking her to her guy's uh, like auto body shop, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
And that's another character actor. Did you identify the voice there?
Who?
So that is Michael Rappaport, character actor Michael
Ah,
Rappaport,
okay.
who,
I recognize the voice, but I couldn't put a face to the name or a name
yeah,
to the voice, I should say.
I think I would have recognized this voice in 2001. He was in a Fox dramedy called Boston Public. So I picked up that, and then he went on to feature in Spike Lee's Bamboozled
Yep.
and some other stuff. Anyway, I don't know. Again, the voice acting in the game, it's like whether you know these guys or not, you are aware of the fact that these are actors and they are giving a performance, and that in and of itself is bringing these things to life in a way, that maybe you hadn't experienced in a game before. And like you said, suddenly, one by one, the game map is opening up, and now you have not one but two characters that you can take missions from.
Exactly. So you take her, Misty, to Joey's garage, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, and Luigi tells our man that this is basically like a nice little stepping stone for him. Like you can don't pal around with Misty
Right.
because now
Well,
now you're like getting closer to the action.
sure. Well, you're climbing the ranks already of like the mafia org chart, where I believe Joey is the Don's son, and so you don't want to mess around. You certainly don't want to make any moves on Misty.
Yeah, exactly. As if you had that agency in the game.
Yeah, right. But like again, you play it and it's like, I don't know, maybe that's a function. Maybe that mechanic will be introduced like halfway through the game. And so there is some excitement in like this game could be anything at this point. You know that you've come from another part of the map entirely. I think it's not an unreasonable assumption that like you're going to get back to that place where you peeled out at the beginning, right? The bridge is down. Hopefully the bridge will be, pulled up at a certain point and the map will keep expanding and your sense of it will grow. And you mentioned sort of like feeling frustrated with the lack of things you can actually do right now. But I kind of think that frustration is part and parcel of the games themselves. Like you are supposed to feel disempowered with the promise of getting more, empowered as the game goes on. It's a power fantasy, which most games are, but I think that they make it even more literal here, where, you are just like in the scummy part of town and slowly, slowly, slowly climbing the ranks, which maybe will afford you, it will definitely give you more money. You're making money on all these missions. I think you make $4,000 driving Misty, which is a huge markup from,
Yeah.
the picking up Misty at the clinic and taking her back to the sex club.
This was about as far as I could go without being like, where are the guns at?
Okay.
Like, when are we gonna start
All
blowing
right. So
some shit up, dude?
you're chomping at the bit for this game to really blow up.
Yeah, I mean, you played it first, so you tell me. It sounds like you just jumped in and started driving a cab around, but
Yeah.
like when you were playing this for the first time, were you like, all right, where's the action at?
I mean, I think my gaming instinct is more immediately like exploratory. I just wanted to walk around. I don't know if you found any of these, the hidden packages. Does that mean anything to you?
That means nothing.
Okay. All right. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But like I just like wandering down a back alley and suddenly you see, this package and you walk over it and buzzing on screen, hidden package, 1 of 100. I'm like, okay, I got to find the other 999 of these bad boys. Not that
This is
that's
the
a
point where I say that when Henning and I lived together, this dude used to game with a whiteboard where he could um, make sure he was tracking every single achievement in the game that he
yeah,
was playing. Which is this? Everyone's got their own flavor, dude. Nothing wrong with that.
no, I think these games are like a Rorschach test. I mean, you are referring very specifically to my playing Red Dead Redemption in 2011. We were all listening to Home by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, and really excited about Obama's second presidency. And yes, I was playing with a whiteboard and knocking off my to-do list. So you would describe yourself as more of a fluid player than I am.
Yeah, like I like the story of these games. I like the story of these games. And not to say I'm not down to get into some chaos here and there, but it's very interesting playing GTA 3 for the first time without a printed list off of AOL maybe of the cheat codes that could get me what I need to get
Right.
right into the chaos, you know.
Yeah.
Playing this as an older man is more narratively focused
Okay.
quest, I would say, the days of my youth. So I'm excited that we make it through these missions because I'm like, all right, let's get into some real action
Yes,
here.
I think that even more so than after the second mission, Luigi's Girls, once you play Drive Misty for Me, your sense of what's possible has now ballooned, and the game is beginning to reveal itself in exciting ways. So, yeah, we'll keep going from there, and we'll pick up next time, maybe with a Joey mission, maybe with a Luigi mission, and probably missions for some
So
other
from here,
members of the criminal
uh,
syndicate.
as we said, you start to have more agency on which missions you do right
Right,
for people,
right.
and then I yeah, so I was satisfied with this. You know, I'm excited. The biggest thing that I want to see if these missions get longer
Right.
and more complex. I
I
would
I
say.
mean, to the best of my memory, that's almost inevitable. Where, yeah, maybe it's no longer just a driving mission. You got a driving and a shooting mission, and you got to pick something else up, and there's a timer involved. And those are all very gamey mechanics. But again, what's so fresh and exciting about Grand Theft Auto, even right now, even with these first four missions, is the sheen of narrative and story that, to me, locks me in a way that you're not necessarily getting from the Super Mario games, circa 2001. No knock on Nintendo, no knock on Mario. These are very different, but yeah, that's part of the special Rockstar sauce, and I think that's what makes talking about this franchise through the lens of these missions such a rich conceit because we're going to be able to talk about everything. That's the liberty. That's the promise of the game. That's the liberty inherent to GTA and Rockstar's brilliance.
Hell yeah, bro! Give me liberty. You know,
Or
we could say
or
we could
give me
call.
death.
Yeah, give me liberty or give me death, dude. Give me liberty or give me hot coffee. We'll save that for
Yeah,
another
no, that's
day.
that's a teaser for 2 years from now when we get to GTA San Andreas.
So, what missions are we doing next?
Uh, you're chomping at the bit. I believe mission number 5 is Pump Action Pimp. Or anyway, that's one of the possibilities offered by Luigi. And then another mission called the Fuzzball, which I haven't even played yet. But Tim and I are playing these missions alongside talking about them. So hopefully you are doing the same, or you just have such innate familiarity with these missions that like you remember them instantaneously. And we're doing a good enough job explaining them, and then hopefully getting in the weeds
All
and
right.
and sharing some stuff.
I'll do Pump Action Pimp and the Fuzzball, fire up the PS5, and what a time to be alive. What a time to be playing. How old is this game now? Assuming,
This game will be 24 years old in November. Almost 25, almost a quarter century old.
damn,
Yeah.
what a
Time
life.
time
All right.
flies, man.
Well, I hope in these next missions we get some guns, bro.
I I
Maybe
I
some explosives.
I think you're gonna get your guns. I feel safe promising that.
All right. I don't want to
All
be
right.
disappointed. All right.
I'll talk to you next time.
See ya.
Bye.